afternoon, everyone. How are you guys doing? Good. Excellent. Welcome to the Minnesota Zoo and also the last day of 2019. Thank you. Oh, yes. Yay! Everybody's ready for the new year. Everybody's ready for the new year. And I'm so glad you came to usher the old year out by coming to the Minnesota Zoo, but especially welcome right here to the Wings Financial World of Bird Show. My name's Rebecca. I'm one of the trainers here. Who has been to a bird show before? Nice. Today. Second time today. That sounds about right. Well, thank you for coming back. Thanks for grabbing your parents and your grandparents and dragging them back. For those of you who might be new to the show, welcome. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to be showing you birds that come from all over the world. We have our birds demonstrate what birds are best at. One of the things birds are best at, of course, is flying. We are going to be having our birds not just hang out down here on stage with me while we're learning about them. We are going to send some of them flying directly out there amongst all of you. Is that all right with everyone? Yes. Right? It was quiet, but it was emphatic. We're going to go with this. If you have been to the show before, you already know our birds, for the most part, they're not going to fly up high by the ceiling. Our birds are going to fly right over the tops of your heads. There is one bird in particular, he's fairly new to our show. This guy's like a little feathery cannonball coming your way, so just be prepared for some low-flying birds. And as a favor to those birds, just please remember to keep your hands down. Simple way to keep you guys safe, simple way to keep the birds safe. Now that that little spiel is over with, let's get this show on the road. We are going to get officially started with a bird that will be perfectly content outside on a day like today in Minnesota. You see, on a day like today that's right about 20 degrees outside, they are well prepared that if it's 50 degrees colder than it is today, we're talking 30 below, which does not sound very pleasant for us, but animals like snowy owls have adapted to living up on the Arctic tundra. This is my good friend Laurel coming out here to help me with our owl. If anyone's familiar with Harry Potter had a female snowy owl called Hedwig. Ours is a male, so we call him the Blizzard of Oz. Oz here is so well adapted to the extreme environments of the tundra. Up on the tundra, winter can last up to 10 months. And we're not talking a nice April in Minnesota with lots of snow in the 30s. We're talking 30 below as a wintertime average. How does he manage to survive up there? Well, you're looking at it. You are looking at his feathers. He is literally covered in feathers from nose to toes. Those feathers act exactly like our jackets do. They give him perfect insulation to stay warm. They do keep him warm, they do keep him handsome, but they also give him perfect camouflage. If you want to know what the tundra looks just like Oz. A little bit of rocky ground, a little bit of snow, that's going to help him to disappear backstage by taking a right. That's our snowy owl. Thank you so much, everyone. Snowy owls are not a Minnesota native species. Occasionally we will get some snowies coming down off the tundra because they're looking for an easier place to spend the winter time. Occasionally, not even occasionally, I would imagine some of you on your drive to the zoo today saw this next bird. And I would guarantee some of you saw it because it is one of our most common daytime raptors. And it also happens to be one of my all-time favorite types of birds. Just because a bird is common doesn't mean we shouldn't learn about them. Doesn't mean they're not special. For example, this is Baron. Baron is a red-tailed hawk. Red-tails are incredibly common. Here's the thing. If you are a budding ornithologist, if you're a budding bird watcher, and you want to go out looking for red-tails, to me, they're the easiest to go out and find. All you got to do is get in your car. Drive down the major highways and freeways. Roads like 35E, Cedar Avenue, perfect places to spot these birds. If you're the driver, keep your eyes on the road, but if you're the passenger, look up. Look up on the top of light poles, telephone poles, street signs. If you see a bird about this size that is not all black, chances are it's probably a red tail. If it's all black, probably a crow. They are just as common as these red-tails are. If you do spot a red-tailed hawk on your drives or in your neighborhood, give them a mental high five. This bird is 100% natural rodent control. They hang out along our bridges, along our roadways, because they are watching for things like mice and rats and moles and voles. If you do happen to spot one in your neighborhood, just give them the thumbs up, because they're probably keeping at least one mouse out of your house. They are excellent neighbors to have, so always appreciate them before they fly to somebody else's neighborhood to do a little rodent cleanup there. That is Baron. He's a red-tailed hawk. When I think about birds, two images come to mind immediately. One is a bird flying, and then the second one is a bird sitting in a tree. I think those are pretty common thoughts when we think about birds. Some birds don't live in trees, and some birds spend their entire lives up in the treetops. That is, here's fancy science word, I love fancy science words. That's what's called being arboreal. If that name sounds familiar, it's similar to arboretum. It just means an animal spends its time up in the trees. Let's go to Africa to visit an arboreal species called a turaco. If you've never heard of a turaco before, let's meet our white-cheeked turaco, whose name is McMurphy. McMurphy is a white-cheeked turaco. As you can see, he's got little white patches of feathers on his cheeks. This species is native to Eastern Africa. All the turacos are going to be found in Africa. This one specifically, countries like Ethiopia and Eritrea. They do live way high up in the tippy tops of the canopy forest there. Up in those treetops, is everything McMurphy needs to have a successful life. Up in the treetops, he's going to find somewhere to have his nest. He's also going to find somewhere to roost, which for a bird, roosting basically just means they find a safe place to spend the night. Also in the treetops, dinner time. Dinner time for McMurphy, that's gonna be a little shoots, little leaves, maybe a berry, maybe a fruit or a bug here or there. So he is gonna find his dinner up there. Last thing, maybe the most important thing, is he's gonna find safety in the treetops. He has to watch out for things like snakes and monkeys that might want to turn him into dinner. So being able to hop and run along the branches like he's been doing, that's going to let him make a hasty getaway if one of those predators gets a little bit too close. A white-cheeked turaco, everyone. I hope you like meeting McMurphy. Thank you very, very much. Many birds do live in trees. There's lots of arboreal types of birds. Some birds even will live just right on the ground. Some birds don't even need trees, like snowy owls. They live up on the Arctic tundra where there are no trees. They do just fine with that. There are some birds that don't just live down on the ground. There are some birds that live underground. You don't have to travel super far to find these. If it's summertime, here's what you gotta do. Go down to the southwest corner of our state. Go out into where the prairies still are. If you stumble upon a prairie dog town, get out a really big pair of binoculars and start looking for a burrowing owl. You're gonna need a big pair of binoculars because they're really little. Itty-bitty baby owl. He is a full-grown, ferocious, pint-sized predator. He's selling the adorable predator look very, very well. They can be found living in abandoned prairie dog tunnels. They will sometimes excavate their own tunnels. Living on that prairie dog town, that is going to give him everything he needs to survive. Just like living in the treetops gives McMurphy everything he needs to survive. He's going to find food. More importantly, he's going to find shelter. If something like a hawk or a coyote comes a little too close, he can just zip back to his burrow and he'll be safe and sound. They do spend a lot of time running around on the ground, kind of like he was demonstrating. But don't get the wrong impression. Don't get an idea that they're not good flyers. Malcolm's brother, the boss, is a great flyer. And I'm not joking. This is a different owl. I won't fool you, I promise. This little owl right here, he is going to be flying up to my friend Laurel, who snuck out here. She's hiding all the way in the back. We're going to see if the boss will give us a couple little flights. The little hover flights that Laurel is getting our owl to do. This is the feathered cannonball. That's him right there. These little hover flights, Laurel's going to get him to do one more. They come in handy for a burrowing owl. They are one of the ways. They are just one of the ways that he's going to hunt when he heads out to do his hunting. He might spot something like a little mammal, maybe a little lizard, a little snake, a little bug. He might hover over it for just a second before pouncing on it. That wasn't time to go. Yes. Excellent. He's going to pounce on it in those teeny tiny but very strong feet. Okay, you did a great job. Go join Malcolm in the back. There we go. Those are our burrowing owls, everyone. Believe it or not, burrowing owls are not the smallest type of owl out there. Our guys, they weigh about as much each. They weigh about as much as a deck of cards. That's how heavy those little owls are. The smallest owl in the world is about a third smaller, called an elf owl. They only weigh as much as a light bulb. That's it. Tiny little owls. Don't forget though that owls come in every size and shape. Planet Earth has about 250 different species of owls. Let's go from the small to the largest. Literally, the largest type of owl in the world. Laurel is sneaking out here one more time with our Eurasian eagle owl. Quite a nice juxtaposition from those little burrowing owls. Just as noisy as them, though. Gladys here again. The name of this species is a Eurasian eagle owl. They are purportedly the largest in the world, and we estimate Gladys has a wingspan of about 5.5 to 6 feet. All of that size, that's so easy to see them here on stage. There's something about her that might surprise you. Gladys only weighs 5 pounds. As big as she is very, very light for a bird that flies. So don't think about things like emus or ostriches. Think about a lady like Gladys. She has to fly to survive. Everything about a bird's body helps them to be as light as possible. Under all those feathers, her actual body, pretty small. All of her feathers make her look very big and bulky, but she's actually quite svelte under all those feathers. A couple other things about birds that are going to help them stay light. Teeth are made out of bone, and therefore they can get really, really heavy. Birds do not have teeth. Instead, they have a beak. Beaks are much lighter, but they do basically the same thing teeth do. Another thing about Gladys, here's something I think is a little crazy. If we took all of Gladys's feathers on one scale, and we took all of Gladys's bones on another scale, her feathers would weigh more than her bones do. Bones in many flighted birds are so nice and light to make sure she can fly when she needs to. This again is Gladys, our Eurasian eagle owl. My good friend Laurel. Thank you very much, Laurel. As their name suggests, you are not going to find Eurasian eagle owls here in Minnesota. You have to go to Europe or Asia if you're going to spot them. Owls, though, owls live around us all the time. Great horned owls, barred owls, little boys with polar bears on their hats around us all the time. But let's spend just a little bit of time talking about endangered species, about species that don't hang around us all the time. Some of them are running out of time. Let's introduce everyone to this beautiful species. This is Piper. Piper is called a blue-throated macaw. Blue-throats like Piper, they look a lot like another type of parrot called a blue and gold macaw, but they're very different birds with very different stories. We're going to share Piper's story in just a second. First, he's going to head to the back. We have a perch that we light up just for him. Here we go. Blue-throated macaws have a special distinction. It's not a great distinction, but it's something we need to talk about. Blue-throated macaws are considered to be critically endangered. Basically, you have an animal that's endangered and you have an animal that's extinct. Right in the middle is critically endangered. They are one step away from disappearing. Here's the thing though. For quite a while, we thought this species had already gone extinct. Nobody could find them down in Bolivia, which is the only country you could find them in. Nobody could find them down there for quite a long time. We thought they'd vanished. A group of scientists, though, they went back to Bolivia in the early 1990s, and they managed to find one last hidden population. Even today, 30 years later, their wild population is estimated to only be about 150 individual birds. That's a tiny little number. I don't want to put anybody in a doom and gloom mood, though. Let's talk about the hope we have. How many times in our lives have we had a chance to save a species we thought had gone extinct? We're not quite to Jurassic Park levels of making animals that have gone extinct come back. We're not there yet. So instead we had scientists that were lucky enough to rediscover them, and that gives us time to help protect them. Every single one of you, by coming to the Minnesota Zoo, you are all supporting our conservation efforts. The Bird Show, right here, us, we have teamed up with another organization, and together we have researchers on the ground in Bolivia right now figuring out how to best protect the blue-throated macaws. Lots of your other favorites here at the zoo, though, they benefit from you visiting. And making some noise, apparently. We're talking about animals like antlered tigers, antlered leopards, gulls, Hawaiian monk seals, Namibian black rhinos, Minnesota endangered prairie butterflies, all species that you're helping just by visiting the zoo here in Minnesota. And speaking of Minnesota, if we want to talk about conservation, there is an amazing conservation comeback story that we share our backyards with here. And it's one that this is a story we need to tell over and over again because it's the story of our national symbol, which we all know is the bald eagle. Laurel is coming out here for her final trip with our female bald eagle, Rousey. Bald eagles have an incredible story here in the United States. They were put on the endangered species list many, many years ago. They got put on that list because a pesticide had gotten into the waterways, and that pesticide was having a terrible impact on their populations. As their populations started to decline, people like you and me in states like Minnesota, we started working together. We worked together to change laws to better protect them. We also worked together to clean up their waterways, get that pesticide out of our waterways. And all of that hard work that we did paid off for them big time. Bald eagles have now come back to such an extent they've been off the endangered species list over a decade because they're doing so well. Something we should all be proud of. This is our bald eagle and my good friend Laura. Thank you very much, Laurel. I am not huge on numbers. I get confused by numbers very, very easily. But I have a couple numbers that I want to kind of send you guys off with because I think these numbers are incredibly important. In 1963, that's when bald eagle populations were at their smallest. From east to west coast in the lower 48 states, we thought there were only 1,000 bald eagles left. That's it. Two winters ago, here within the borders of our own state of Minnesota, we had over 10,000 pairs of bald eagles. That really goes to show we can have such a powerful impact on this planet just by doing tiny things in our lives every single day. I've had a lot of fun with you guys this afternoon. If you have any questions, I'd love to chat. Just meet me right down here. Most of all, though, have a great day at the Minnesota Zoo. Thanks so much, you guys.